Right now, we're going to take a look through today's French newspapers with Belle Lupton. Hello there.
Hi, Kat.
We're going to start off with events right here in France. The Economy Minister, an interesting chap, Emmanuel Macron, he's being seen as making a potential bid for power. Now, he's not actually come out and said, I'm going to run for president, has he? But he's been making some sort of manoeuvres.
No, he hasn't. So a big speech last night in which, as you say, he didn't come out and actually announce his presidential candidacy for 2017. But some of the papers say he may as well have done so. So one of the tabloids here in France, Aujourd'hui en France, leading with Macron decidedly campaigning, really in a campaign. In his speech, it says he covered everything from the environment to security, laying out what it calls a real candidate's programme. He arrived on stage to campaign-style music. He spoke for about an hour pretty fluently, and there were cries of Macron for president at the end. The paper says he cut a presidential figure.
All right, but just to reiterate, there was no actual announcement. So what actually did happen?
Well, no, there was no actual announcement. But if you read papers like the Huffington Post, you might be forgiven for thinking that there was. They're leading with Macron thanks Hollande but takes aim at 2017, suggesting that the Economy Minister has his sights set on the Élysée next year. It says in that article that he's masking his intentions less and less, all the while maintaining a facade of loyalty to Hollande. So a little bit muddled. He hasn't put forward his candidacy, but we can guess that he might.
OK, now we haven't actually heard anything from François Hollande about this yet. Is there a bitter battle going on behind the scenes? Is it sort of daggers and what have you?
Well, not according to the financial paper Les Echos, which calls Macron the killer without the knife. So in an editorial, it says he's waiting for Hollande's reputation to fall all by itself so that he can emerge as the strongest Socialist Party candidate without having to go through the messy, potentially damaging prospect of a leadership contest. Another business paper, L'Opinion, says that this, of course, leaves Hollande in rather a tricky spot. L'Opinion shows on its front page Hollande in cycling gear, turning up to one of the latter stages of the Tour de France and asking, can I join in, even though I've missed some of the earlier stages? Now, those stages are written on the right-hand side there, those stages that he's missed, and they include things like reforms, economic growth, lowering unemployment, a victory in the Euro 2016 football championships, all things that Hollande is deemed to have failed. Now, he's said to be searching for the magic formula for his Bastille Day speech. And he's even, it says, been asking some of his close advisors if they have a clue what he should do. And it quotes those close advisors who are saying that Hollande is saying, I don't know what to say. Now, if he's tugging his hair, trying to find what that magic formula might be, the left-wing satirical paper Le Canard Enchaîné assures us that we won't be seeing a badly coiffed President Hollande anytime soon, because it has found his hairdresser's contract.
Crikey.
Yeah, and it shows there, you can see that hairdresser is paid almost 10,000 euros a month. So with that, you could figure
Per month?
Per month. I mean, you know, it's got
That's
to be a
amazing.
good hairdo, hasn't it, for that?
I want that job. Hollande's hardly got any hair. What's that all about?
Or perhaps a hairdresser who will do that per month. I mean, fantastic.
Excellent. All right, let's move away from French politics, from France indeed. There's been a lot of coverage in French media of a story that's happening over in Africa, the renewal of violence in South Sudan.
Yes, and it's certainly riding high in Catholic paper La Croix in France, which has been speaking to a resident in the capital, Juba. Now, according to that eyewitness, the paper concludes that Salva Kiir, the President Salva Kiir's soldiers on Monday, took advantage of the chaos in the city and did not hesitate before pillaging civilians without impunity. Now, it doesn't place the blame entirely on Salva Kiir. It also shares it with his rival, Vice President Riek Machar. And the article emphasises that no one knows exactly what's going on in South Sudan. There's really a dearth of information coming out of there. Now, weekly magazine Paris Match takes a slightly different angle on the story, focusing on South Sudan's population, 3/4 of whom are now in urgent need of humanitarian aid, it says. The people it leads with have been trapped by the power struggle that they find themselves in.
It certainly is a story that we will be watching here on France 24 as well. Finally, just a quick word about French papers looking across the channel to what's going on in the UK, specifically in Downing Street.
Absolutely. And it's on the front page of Le Figaro, for one, which dubs Theresa May the Iron Lady. That nickname, of course, first Margaret Thatcher's. It's been used extensively for Theresa May, possibly because she is only the second UK Prime Minister after Margaret Thatcher. Le Figaro inside the paper says the EU is pushing May for a quick exit, but it says that May is likely to want to take her time implementing Brexit. She was, after all, a Remainer in the EU referendum. Now, La Croix, which we mentioned before, also leading on Theresa May, but unlike Le Figaro, it does not draw comparisons with Thatcher. Far from it. It says that Theresa May actually shares rather a lot of left-wing traditional Labour ideas, like, for example, putting workers on company boards. It says the comparison with Thatcher has been made rather too quickly. And quite possibly that is because the two are women, that, you know, there's only Thatcher to think about before Theresa May.
And they are both Conservatives, of course.
Absolutely, so, yes. And there are physical similarities, we must say as well. Now, that's something that Le Monde looks at in a little bit more depth, focusing on that female angle. It has an article, Do We Employ Women After Things Go Wrong? So Le Monde has looked at data from companies like PricewaterhouseCoopers and says women are brought on in times of crisis. But a word of warning, they might be said to steady the ship, but once in power, they are judged far more harshly than men in that position.
Interesting indeed. An article to look through there in Le Monde. Thanks very much, Belle Lupton. Back later on with a look through the international press as well.